And we are back once again. It's the Post Podium Podcast. I am your co-host, Aramis.
And I'm Key. And like they say in Bill's Nation, where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
You heard it here first, people. That's what's up. So to start this off, I got beef, bro.
You got beef?
I got beef.
Oh man.
I spent some time seasoning it up. You know what I'm saying? I hit it with the tenderizer a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I decided it's got to be discussed. So before we get to, we are going to continue our series on the AFC East opponents for the Buffalo Bills, and we will be discussing today the New York Jets going into 2023. But before we get to that, did you see this interview?
I did see an interview.
There was an interview that Colin Cowherd had on his show with the Snowman.
Snowman? Yes.
And it makes me sick even saying that. It's just
Snowman.
So this cat comes on the show, and I'm like, let me see what he's got to say. Maybe Colin will get him to give something up about what's going on with the Diggs situation. And Colin didn't have to do much. Deion gave up something. I don't know if a lot of people picked up on it, but he did give up. He did give up a little something that I thought was very significant. Mm-hmm. He talked about how, yet again, and he kind of said the same thing that Josh Allen said about a month ago in his interview. Right. He said the media is overblowing this whole thing. Right. I got the quote here. He said, "I think it's funny how the world is so much more concerned than the actual teammates." He said, "We don't care at all because there's nothing really to be worried about." And then he gave this really weird example of what he was talking about. He said it just didn't make sense. It just seemed at one point it seemed as though he was kind of just trying to navigate through thoughts and make sure that he's not saying the wrong thing, right? But he tried to give an example. He said an example. Let's say you have a conversation with one of your best friends. And let's say one word is maybe tweaked a little bit where you're like, oh, did he just say that? Whatever. We're a group of men who love each other, play with each other, have been around each other for such a long time. I think that the media is taking things so far left where there's really the only way to go is right. Then he goes on to say, but we have been living on that right side since. Since when?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then he goes on to say, and then there's no worries at all. Zero worries. Now here's the key part. Mm-hmm. He says, Steph is Steph, Josh is Josh,
right,
and they're brothers. They love each other. This leads me to believe that the entire world has had this wrong if nobody has said this to this point. We've all been looking at this as, does he have a problem with his contract? Is it about money? Does he have a problem with the offense? If a player is saying, Steph is Steph, Josh is Josh, they're brothers, they love each other. What is the inverse of that? Why does he feel the need to say that? Why is he bringing that out? It obviously infers that there's an issue between those two guys.
Oh yeah, I mean when you point out the two guys that he named, why name those two? Why not McDermott? Why not somebody?
Exactly.
Why those two? And that's what we alluded to when we talked about this in depth. We talked about the fact that, well, you were more of the mind that it was the contract deal, but I said it's not that. I said there's something going on with him and Josh, and I don't care what they say. I don't care how they. You may as well have a Jordan Poole face when asked about Draymond Green. The head whip. No, because man, when I saw this, the first thing I thought about was, okay, maybe they are brothers, but brothers squabble.
Yeah.
Which is fine, and you can love each other, which is fine. But this is bigger than that. We still got to come back to training camp. We got to see what happens from here on forward, because what happened in the past, they are blowing it out of proportion because we don't have resolve yet. We don't know what the next thing's contract was, some fashion, something or other, or he's endorsed by somebody, Mm-hmm. And Josh is resting now. But when they come back together, and we have to watch how they interact. But what I ask people to do is I ask people to look at body emotions, look at how they act, not what they say. I don't know if you picked it up, but Deion Dawkins has a strange way of talking when he's in his interviews. When he's in his press conference, he always has like this hitch. It's like a cadence to him. We say that he always has this strange. But when he was on this Colin Cowherd interview, it was so relaxed. It was so normal. I feel like he wasn't coached, but I feel like he was trying to remember what he was told or what the mantra is in the locker room when he was on the
Yep.
Because I know you picked it up on it. I don't want to pirate this thing, but I was listening to it in the car ride on in here, and he was very evasive at certain times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was so evasive. You could tell he didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that coaching. He didn't have that what is our tagline going to be kind of thing in his head. He was being more raw than I think they would have liked him to be.
Yep.
While keeping things to himself. And that goes into what Von Miller said. I don't know. I don't want to know. Deion Dawkins is high enough on the Bills hierarchy that he doesn't have to be involved in everything that they do every day. So I think he does know things because he's cool with both of them, but I think there are things that he doesn't know and he doesn't want to involve himself in.
Yeah, that's actually a different perspective. I guess I didn't really think that far about it. But I will say this. I think based on what he said in the interviews, which a lot of it was just ridiculous. Like,
yeah, there was a lot of fluff.
I mean, saying that it's a room full of superstars, you've got two, and you might have a third this year, and maybe a fourth, depending on what Kincaid does. But I think James Cook is going to come and do his own this year, so you might have a third one there on offense. Defensively, you've got what?
He didn't name any defensive players.
Huh?
He didn't name any offensive linemen, no defensive players. Colin Cowherd had to offer up Dalton Kincaid because he didn't name him either. He didn't name Dawson Knox. He named Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis.
Right.
Be cocky. You the snowman. Say me. I've been here 6 years.
Well, I don't think he's going to say that because what's the other guy's name that's on Jason McIntyre?
Okay.
Did you see what he said?
No.
He said the Bills' offensive line gave up 8 sacks in 2 games against the Jets. Right with Deion Dawkins there.
Yeah, that was shut down.
It was great. It was great because all Deion had to do from there, like the only thing he could do is just start coming at Jason McIntyre for being a Jets fan.
Right.
Like, when you watch the interview, you the first thing that Deion says when they bring up the Jets is not. As if like to say like it's nothing. We don't think twice about him. Right. Then he goes on to say after the stats and all that kind of stuff, it's the NFL. There is no easy game. There is no which is it, bruh? Like, I don't think he had a meeting with the PR team for the Bills before he came on this interview because
he wasn't prepared.
While it did seem like he was relaxed and confident, I think you're absolutely right. It seemed more so as though when he got to certain questions that forced him to have to think about, okay, well, am I giving up too much information about us? Am I like he started to hesitate. He started and even in his attempts at trying to give examples for what he means and stuff like that, like it just none of it ever seemed to really flow and be very coherent, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know the guy personally. He's probably a smart dude. I mean, he plays in the NFL. You gotta be able to think the game, right? So I'll give him credit for being a pro, but when your offensive line is probably bottom third in the league, probably bottom quarter, more like it, right? I don't think you really have any right to brag on your team. Oh yeah, we're this, we're that. With we're not worried about the Jets. The other thing, to any degree, to any degree, I think you come on that show and you be humble that your team has the record that it's had over the last 5 years, and you thank the stars that you've had Josh Allen for as long as you've had with the success that you've had.
Yeah.
I don't think you get on there with any kind of cockiness whatsoever. And even if it was just for show, that only made you look worse. Like, as a player, like, how did he help his image?
I can see that. I think, how many spots has Deion Dawkins really had? I don't really remember him having that many spots. So outside of Buffalo local media, which they're gonna spoon feed you the right questions and kind of coach you to the right answers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because you have a relationship with certain people. So I'm not going to name their names, but when you put on the post game show, it's always the same names. It's always the same media outlets. So you get a comfort level. They know what to ask you because they dealt with Sean McDermott. They dealt with Colin Cowherd. Doesn't care about McDermott. He doesn't care about the PR team. He wants to know what he wants to know, and he's going to get you. Now, if you're smart enough to say, if you're smart enough to remember what your tagline is, what your mantra is, you'll be fine. But Cowherd, he doesn't want that. That's why he doesn't have a Josh Allen on his show all that often. That's why he doesn't have a Mitch Morris on his show all that often. That's why he doesn't have, because they know they carry the team tagline.
Right.
They help create the team tagline.
Right.
Whereas Deion Dawkins, who's Mr. Personality, no, give me what you got. And I think for me, I would almost, and it would crucify the man, but I would almost prefer him to be real. Just be relaxed. You don't have to tell me everything, like you said last week. Don't tell me everything.
Right.
But don't stop being a snowman now. You're not the snowman only in 716. You're a snowman everywhere. You're a snowman when you go to Temple, when you go home to New Jersey. This is you. So be you. And you're not being offensive. You're not doing anything inherently wrong.
Right.
But don't cover for these people when they're wrong. When something's going on, you know it. You don't have to tell everything, but just speak. Answer the question.
Yeah, just say, I'm gonna let the coach handle those kind of questions. Something like that, where it's just very clear, like I'm not involving myself in this. I didn't come here to talk about
you. They go over stuff before you go into an interview, and they ask you, we're going to talk about this or we're going to do it. They give you a fair chance to prepare.
Right.
They don't hit you blind, but he just was not ready.
Yeah,
he wasn't ready.
Yeah, and it showed, showed, and I think part of the issue and the reason, not the major reason. Well, I guess it is the major reason. It every player that plays for us is a reflection on the expectation of the city, the expectation of the team, and if he's allowed to walk out there on that show and say the kind of things that he said, say we got a locker room full of superstars and then only name three players on offense.
Questionable, honestly.
Exactly. Because Gabe Davis is a superstar from one game.
Right.
Like that. Gabe Davis is my guy. I know. Like, it's my guy.
And this isn't slander. Yeah, you're right.
But he's not a superstar. Do we have to define it? I don't know. But
yeah,
I think the when you have those kind of players going out there and saying what they're saying as if they're just blind to reality.
Right.
I'd rather have grounded players that are very realistic about where they are in their development, where the team is in its development, and just get to work. You know what I'm saying? If we got superstars on the team, great, because those are guys that are going to make plays when it counts.
Right.
If we don't, then we need to focus on getting those guys in, but be realistic about that. Like, we got a room full of dogs. I would have loved if he had just said that. We got a room full of dogs. Okay, you probably do have a room full of underdogs who thrive on being discounted or counted out or what, however you want to say that. But, and this was the other point I wanted to bring up too. And I want your thoughts on this. I think we've reached a point now where we've seen that this team cannot operate from the front, right? And I think that's a direct reflection of the head coach. The head coach is, in his mentality, he's always been the underdog, right? He's smaller guy in stature, wrestler, tough mentality, but he's not a front of the line, top of the mountain kind of guy. Right. He's not able to dominate from those positions. But when he's fighting against the odds, it seems as though he's much more powerful than he is, fighting from a position of power. Right. And I would say I think we can say the last 3 years they've been kind of fighting from a position of power, and it almost seems as though that's not something the team is accustomed to.
Well, we alluded to that, a couple weeks ago when we were talking about how far is McDermott going to lead this team. Yeah. You said the 3 years, that was us establishing an identity, well, we're supposed to be, which was getting to the playoffs, go 13-3, whatever the case may be. But at this point, you need somebody that's going to push you to that next level. because McDermott's going to get you to where we are now, which is good but not great.
Right.
And if you want to live in the world of good, that's fine, and that's where we are. But we're never going to be great unless he starts hiring great people to surround himself with in order to get him to the next level. Somebody that he has to bring his, I don't want to say ego, but his personality has to diminish a little bit.
Yeah.
Because at this point in time, you need help. You need a counsel. And you need to be able to, you're only going to get people into your building when they know you're going to listen to them, or at least, hear what they have to say.
Yep.
And at this point in time, I don't feel like he's that kind of person that will hear what they have to say. So, once again, to your point, leading from the underdog perspective, yeah, William and Mary safety, wrestling, smaller guy, but that's what the team used to be. Now you have a Von Miller, you have a Josh Allen, a Steph Diggs. That mentality's changed.
Right.
It's over. You have to move to the next level now.
Exactly. It's almost as if the players want to be able to have the Bengals mentality where, anybody want it, they can get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But because the culture of the team is very, all shucks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Leave it to Beaver.
Exactly. It doesn't allow for the type of mentality that you need in order to be playing from the top down as opposed to trying to fight your way to the top. But
right.
Yeah, I just, better representation, better mentality when it comes to what's needed when you have a roster that is stacked like ours is.
And you know what? I wouldn't name names. And it's not because I don't agree with it, but what kind of divide could you possibly create when you name three people? We have a room full of dogs, but any name three. What's Trey White thinking?
Exactly.
What is Matt Milano thinking? These guys have been putting in work.
Yep. Serious
work. Ed Oliver just signed a contract. You see him every day in practice. You ain't name me. That's crazy. Rousseau, you didn't name me. So for me, if I say, we got we got ballers in the room, that's where I leave it.
Right, exactly.
I'm not saying nothing else. And I'll leave it to you to decide. What do you think about, he's a good player. But I didn't say who is it. I didn't identify him.
Right.
I just let you ask me the question,
Right.
Just so he dropped that. It was a faux pas right there to me.
Yeah. You go to California, you get under the big lights, and it's a little bit different when you sit in front of that Buffalo media.
A little different, yeah.
So, I'll give him his credit, and I'll also criticize when necessary. And this interview, it was bad, man. It was bad. I respect Deion, as a person, and for him, being in the league as long as he has, and doing what he's done. But man.
That's a gut punch for you, huh?
Yeah, it was hard. All right.
Speaking of gut punches, I wanted to go a little different. We're going to go into the Jets. Definitely going to the Jets. I wanted to go a little different because there was some news around the league I wanted to touch on. I didn't know if you saw it or if you thought about it.
Maybe.
The first thing I wanted to talk about was Pat Mahomes' comments. In regards to the Netflix newly released quarterback series that they have. He said he thinks the Bengals are a better team than the Bills. Mm-hmm. But with all the injuries they had on the O-line, the Bills have had a chance. He said, I think we match up better versus the Bills, but I want to play the Bengals. I just want to play them. We haven't beat them. I'm tired of them talking. So.
Really?
Yeah. That in itself.
Really?
If the Bills are not on notice now, you're on notice. The best quarterback in the league just said you're a better matchup. But they want to play somebody else because they can't beat them.
Right. Right.
I'm insulted by that. And it's not even that I don't like Pat Mahomes, but as a competitor, you called me out. I'm going to show you who the winner is. On the biggest stage, every time we play you, your face is going in the dirt. And that goes into what we talked about last week about how when you play against teams that cheat or teams that play, you don't cower. You boss up. You step up. And this is one of those things that really got me going, and I like it for competitive sake, but I really want the Bills to know this quote. I wish they would put it somewhere on the wall, put it on the iPads and they get their playbooks at training camp. Also, let's see.
I'm sorry. I just because I'm reading through it now. Like the way he said it, he said, "I think we match up better versus the Bills, but I want to play the Bengals." Mm-hmm. Like this is Tom Brady all over again.
Right.
That's exactly what this is. Like, I'm confident we can beat the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
We match up great against them because they can't cover our best receiver, period. Right? We can do whatever we want to do against that defense.
Right.
But I want to play the harder team.
I want to play a harder team.
Because I'm tired of them talking.
Right.
That's essentially what he's saying when you read this through. I think.
And that's what Steph Diggs would say. That's what Steph Diggs would say. That right there?
Yeah.
Will Josh Allen say that? Will Sean McDermott say that?
No.
Will Brendan? That's the point.
No.
That's the point we're trying to make, guys. When you hear stuff like this, these are competitors. You don't hear we want to do things the right way. I know I can beat you. I want to rip their heads off.
Right.
I want to tear their heads off because they can't. We haven't beat them yet, and I'm tired of Joe Burrow. I'm tired of Joe Mixon. I'm tired of all those guys talking that BS. I'm gonna show them.
Yeah.
But the Bills don't have it, and that's how you win a Super Bowl, as they just showed you. This is the mentality you have to have. I'm the top of the mountain, but there's a team I identify, I respect enough that I want to beat because I have to put that on my trophy case. Bigger than the Super Bowl. I got 2 of them.
Yeah.
Bigger than anything else. This is the team I want to play. When you have that mentality, when your coach instills this in you, you're going to go far. This is what the Bills need to put them over the top.
100%. 100%. They need somebody to do it. They need somebody to do it.
Yeah, and going on with the Dalvin Cook saga.
Oh.
It's down to the Pats, Jets, and Miami. He wants to come to the division.
Pats, Jets, and Miami.
This is the caveat. The caveat to this is, according to Boomer Esiason, there's a $7 million standing offer by the Vikings. He doesn't want to go back to the Vikings, but what does that tell you? If he's chasing money, you have to pay $7 million to get in that club. That's what it tells me. He know, and that's why he turned down the Dolphins deal. I don't know what they offered him. It might be out there. I didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But your baseline is $7 million. If you don't want to pay a $7 million entrance fee, you may as well not even show up at the concert. So these 3 teams, you've been put on notice. This is something that came out by a Jets outlet. So it's not a Vikings PR guy saying this is not somebody trying to leverage, to get him more money. This is somebody that's suiting him.
Right.
The Jets, which fits into the show, the Jets are the PR guys, the guys in the know with the Jets organization are saying he has an offer by his home team that he played with for $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to pay $7 million or better because who knows, the Patriots, they got money.
Well, what's their cap situation like? How much cap space does each team have?
The Patriots, I believe, what do we say? They don't have. The Jets have a lot. They have a lot of money.
I thought the Pats did too. They didn't really spend a lot of money.
Who's that?
Patriots?
What did we say? I think the Pats only had.
Let's look it up.
16 million. So, I think it was 16 million after they. What did they do?
17 million.
Yeah. So
I mean, they could definitely do it.
They could do it. The Jets could do it because they're at 21 million, and Miami. They're bringing up the rear by far because they spent money, but they were leveraging the fact that Dalvin Cook wanted to come.
They got 13 mil.
The Miami does?
Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, all 3 of them could do it if they wanted to. At $7 million.
Yeah,
shoot,
7 or better. I mean, you really could.
Does it make sense though for Miami? Like with the speed? Yeah, you got Jeff Wilson. You got got Raheem Mostert.
You got Mostert,
and then the rookie they got
So. I mean, it doesn't, but that's his hometown and he's established. So, I mean, I guess
maybe
there's something to say for that.
I think it makes a lot of sense for the Jets.
Do you?
Bryce is coming off a knee injury like that.
You got Zonovan, you got Michael Carter, you got all these young guys there. I mean, I guess
Michael Carter I could do without. I could do without Michael Carter.
I like Michael Carter though.
I'm sure a lot of people like Michael Carter, but I don't think he's dynamic as the other guys. Zonovan for sure, he's not as dynamic as him and Breece Hall.
Yeah.
I don't see Michael Carter having a role on this team pretty much at all, especially if you sign Dalvin Cook.
If you sign Dalvin Cook, but my thing, I think with the money, the $7-8 million to go there, and I mean, I can see it being done. I just don't know. I don't know what their plan for the future is.
Yeah,
what their scheme is.
Realistically, I don't think Dalvin Cook makes sense for any of these teams except the Bills. And The Bills are the only team that seem to believe
money.
they don't, they can do it.
They just saw themselves out the door. What, $7 million? They're out the door.
Exactly. And that's their own doing, especially when
Yeah.
you re-sign freaking Ed Oliver.
Well, Ed Oliver, Ed Oliver component would have helped them. That would have helped them. But if they structured it the right way. But I just don't think they really wanted to do it.
No, you misunderstand what I'm saying. Trading Ed Oliver would have been the best bet in this
I know
scenario.
where you're at with that, but knowing what we knew they wanted them.
Okay.
We knew they wanted them.
You know what? I'm gonna reserve all of the final judgments for when we see what happens in week 1, what this team looks like defensively.
Yeah.
What their tendencies are. Are they more aggressive? Are they blitzing more? All that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think I kind of question why A, he wants to come to this division, and B, why any teams in this division would really want him at this point.
That's a good point.
For that dollar amount.
That's a good point, and I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't. I mean, he's a good player, but I don't understand why they would want to have a $7 million running back at this point in time when you're looking at the Patriots, who are going to they're going to showcase Mac Jones. Now, if you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins in New England, I could see that. But as far as the Jets with their young backfield, if you have faith in the guys you have in that room right now, you're not going to bring in somebody that's going to usurp them. So,
yeah.
I mean, like you said, you could do without Michael Carter, you could do without Zonovan. Yeah, that's true. But can they? And if they do agree that they can do without him, do they want to bring in an older, what is he, 29 at $7 million a season? How many seasons the Vikings are even offering?
Well, okay. So again, if I'm going to take the position of defending how this works, I would say this. I would say you have Breece Hall coming off a major knee injury, right? Dalvin Cook presents security in a sense that you can put him out there. He's going to make the right decisions. He's going to make the right play. Like he's all the experience he has and all the plays that he's made in his career, and especially in that offense, it would be a great fit for him, right? So now if we need to do that, then we need to compare running backs to see who gives us the best chance to win, right? So at this point, Breece Hall is first round pick. He's not going anywhere. So that means that Dalvin Cook has to come in and compete with Zonovan, and he has to compete with Carter, right? So if I'm looking at Cook versus those two guys, I think in terms of experience, in terms of capability, in terms of leadership, in terms of what a player like that can do for your team in the playoffs, which is somewhere that team hasn't been yet. I think having Dalvin Cook on your team is a major asset. So in my mind, what does that push me towards now decision-wise? That pushes me towards now having to decide, okay, between Michael Carter and what's Zonovan's last name?
Knight.
Zonovan Knight. I thought that was his last name. Yeah. Having to choose between those two guys, I'm keeping Zonovan. He's quicker.
He's quicker. He's got good hands. Yep.
He's got good hands, so he's more of a dual threat than Michael Carter is, right? Yeah, see, 5'8", 201. Michael Carter's a little more of a bruiser, so to speak, right?
Yeah, he's tough to take
bowling
down.
Ball.
He's tough to take down.
And that's cool and all, but I already have my bruiser in Breece Hall. So not only am I giving Breece Hall a break, right? But now I'm pairing, technically, and again, when did Breece Hall get injured last year?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
week 7 or something.
So the assumption is Breece Hall is not going to be the same player coming back this year.
Right.
It's probably going to take him some time.
Right.
So if I sign Cook and I pair him with Zonovan Knight, now I've got my 1-2 punch. I've got a Dalvin Cook who's probably not as fast as he used to be, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be my, short yardage back, my guy that's going to get me the consistent yards, right? And then I got Zonovan Knight to come in. He can be my third down guy. He can be that speed back that, he does some I'm drawing a blank at the type of plays. But anyway, I think Zonovan Knight is your speed back. He's your pass catching back, your third down back essentially. Right, I think you pair those guys together. I'm confident in that. I've seen Zonovan Knight go out there and make all kind of plays last year. He stepped up.
Yeah,
he was great in fantasy. I had him in fantasy. I loved him.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
And the funny thing was, I wanted the Bills to pick him up. I think we talked about it because he wasn't drafted.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe with Singletary and Moss and okay, we got Cook, but he was an unknown.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get this or at least try? And
they're probably
at North Carolina,
kicking
North
themselves
Carolina
now.
State, he was good. If you put his film on, he was verified. But yeah, I think to your point, I think for me, if I was a Jets fan, I'd be a little leery of the years. How many years are you going to pay the guy $7 million? Because I don't know what the ramifications for the rest.
I only need one. I only need one right now.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's willing to do one though. Because it says multiple year contract, $7 million per year.
That's what he's looking for is multiple? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the caveat.
So he don't want to have to move around anymore after this.
Right. And that's the part that I'm like, the Jets, I don't see because they're so young. 1 year, yeah, sure, of course, because you got the money. I don't know what Rodgers is doing for 2025 or 24, but that could play into their cap space too. And
I wouldn't do that if I'm the Jets. I mean, that I would have to know what their plan for Zach Wilson is. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's growing, if he's progressing, if he's getting better and showing real progress, then okay, maybe I'll give Cook 2-3 years, something like that. Because I may have Rodgers for 2 years. Right, but. I don't know. I can't see. I can't see the Patriots picking him up.
See that? No, I can't see it.
I mean, you got Ramondre. He's so good. He's so big. Like the dude can. He's literally the bell cow back.
Yeah.
He is the prototypical bell cow back that you want, and he's so talented for that size. I just wouldn't do it.
No,
I wouldn't want to take any carries away from him. And fantasy wise. Don't you dare sign another back that's going to take carries away from
him. Dynasty?
Huh?
You got him in a dynasty?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I wish I was in a dynasty league. Which reminds me, we need to hurry up and start one.
Yes.
We said we were going to. But
yeah, we're going to definitely do that. But yeah, so lastly, I wanted to say, actually, last 2 points real quick. DeAndre Hopkins is waiting for the Chris Jones deal to come out because he's looking like he's leaning towards Kansas City, but they have to clear the space. So when Chris Jones resigns, it depends on how much they free up in the structure. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it looks like he's leaning towards Kansas City with Pat Mahomes. Thoughts?
If there was ever a time that I was going to get up and walk off set, it would.
Well, guys, it's me and you.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. It's gotten to the point now where the Patriots don't look like they're going to get him, which makes sense. New England is not for everybody. Bill Belichick is not for everybody.
No.
He's got, if I'm Hopkins, you got to give me some money if I'm going to go play with McCorkle Jones. Like, I'm not just going, I'm sorry. If I'm going to go play with Mac Jones, like,
if there was ever a time when I was going to get it from what? No, just
Right. But instead of doing that, Kansas City has got money of the yin yang because they have done a masterful job at not only drafting, but signing their own players, signing the right free agents for the right kind of contracts.
Yeah.
Like, everything is just that team just continues to get better and better. And if they get Hopkins, it's just over.
Yeah.
It's just over. I don't like, they go right back to being the dominant offensive team in the league.
Yep.
When you got a guy like Hopkins out there on the same field as Travis Kelce, and You still got Sky Moore.
You got Sky
And coming into his second year, like he's gonna have an expanded role. So this is,
and they have an identity. That's the thing. They have the identity.
Yeah.
They know what they're building. Year to year is consistent what they're building. They're putting pieces in the same system, the same cog.
Do they have a GM?
I think they do. I believe they do.
Who's the Chiefs GM? Let's find out.
Quick. But they're building in the same. They just keep adding pieces.
Oh yeah, Brett Veach.
What's that?
Brett Veach is their GM.
Okay. Well, kudos to him, because not only do you have Andy Reid, but you also have a plan.
Yeah.
And you got Pat Mahomes, who was drafted at the selection that we traded away to get Trey White. You know, so that, I mean, for me, we got Josh Allen. That's beautiful. But for us to say that we're the team, even imagine if we don't win a Super Bowl. We were the team to trade away the pick that was used to select the greatest quarterback of all time, possibly.
I mean, by the time he's done, how could he not be?
Yeah.
The only thing that I can see. No, I don't even think time is going to be an issue, because he's already got 2, and he's only 27.
He's like 27, 28. So he's got years.
Right.
And the game he plays is sustainable. So
exactly. Unless Andy Reid retires,
that goes into what we said last week when you asked me about the rookie offensive coordinator. Andy Reid retires, Mahomes is that guy to the point where this is how I want it to look.
Exactly.
This is what you're going to do, and this is how we're going to run this thing.
Right.
And you can put virtually any offensive coordinator in that can identify a tendency, identify a situation, say, Mahomes, they're lining up this way. This is the way you like to play when they do this. Mm-hmm. And Mahomes can take it from there. We don't have that with Josh Allen yet. You know, we could, but we don't have that yet. I don't know where it comes from, if he works. I don't know his work ethic. And I'm talking about Mahomes. That was per ESPN's Diana Rossini. He's also looking at offers from the Patriots and Titans. Those are the 2 visits he had.
The Titans?
Yeah, that was a weird one. Nobody understands that.
That's a horrible decision to go there. No disrespect to the Titans, but
it's just the way they play, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right.
Lastly, I'll skip one. We're going to get into it. Trent Sherfield. I don't know if you heard. He's bet on himself. He bought a house in Buffalo. He signed a 1-year league minimum deal. He bought a house, moved his family to Buffalo. This is where we're laying our foundation. That's a bold move. That is a bold move.
No, what that is if I don't become a starting receiver here, I'm fine, because they value special teams enough where I'll be able to get a position there and I won't have to move nowhere else. I could just live out the rest of my years here in Buffalo,
right,
and be fine.
Be good. Speaking of which, I'm glad you said that. I promise this is the last thing Bills.
No, you good. You good.
Steve Tasker again selected to the semifinal as a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Okay.
If you were him, how would you feel? Like, would you be honored again? Would you? I mean,
I don't think he is. I heard him talk about it last year,
and that's my thing. You know, Steve, you should be. He's like, I don't know how I would feel. I'd probably be pissed off at this point. I keep getting to this place.
My name
and I keep getting
overlooked.
Right. It's like, just let it be.
And then people keep congratulating. Oh, congratulations. You said the same damn thing last year.
The same thing. And my thing is, like, he was a great player.
Yeah.
He was a great, taking nothing away. But at this point in time, the league might not be ready to elect a special teams player to go into the league that's not a kicker or a punter.
Nope.
And a gunner at this point in time is like, what is that? And we at the way the league is going, we're never going to see it, because they kick everything to the end zone.
Why was, and maybe this is more the issue. Why was he nominated in the first place? Why was he selected?
I don't know.
Like, what are the numbers that they're considering versus the accomplishments of his peers that are putting him in this position to continuously be considered for the Hall of Fame? Like, you were on a Super Bowl team that did some really amazing things, but you didn't win any of them.
Right.
And on top of that, you weren't even the best receiver on the team. Again,
You weren't really a
no
receiver.
disrespect
Right.
to Steve Tasker, but these are the realities. So what are we basing the nominations and all that this other stuff on when it comes to him being, considered for the Hall of Fame? Because let's be realistic, it's not going to get any easier for him at this point. And I think that this is the last year for him, right?
I don't
Or
know
does
how
he
that
have more?
works.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I think they get considered for a certain period of time, and then
Okay.
if they don't make it in that time, it's over.
Yeah, mercifully, I hope it's going to be over or he gets in, because
yeah.
at this point it's kind of a slap in the face.
Right.
If I was him, I get it. I understand. We were Bills fans growing up, and we recognize the players that played for this team,
Yeah.
and we recognize how great of a player he was. But to keep nominating me for something that I know in my heart I'm not going to get, and then people that are around me always bring it up, it's going to create a wound.
Right.
You're going to be jaded by it, and that's not fair.
Right. I agree with that.
So without further ado, JETS,
Knots. Let's take the Deion Dawkins route on this one. Knots.
So we're getting into the Jets versus Jets and Jets versus the Bills. So you have any opening thoughts on where we want to go with this here? You want to talk about their offense, their defense? Where you want to start?
This team scares me the most out of any of the teams that we're going to face this year.
Okay, show's over, guys. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week, because that's the same thing I was going to say. I thought you were going to flame me for it because I literally said I think this is a team that might beat us twice this year. I do think. And this is why. If you look at last year, their offensive line was probably, I think they were third worst in pass blocking and run blocking.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted 2 offensive linemen.
Oh, yeah.
You got a quarterback. Did you see that? This is a fun stat right here. Last year, the most passing yards was by Mike White versus the Vikings. He threw for 366 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can see my screen, look at the next line. The least passing yards by Zach Wilson was versus the Patriots. He threw for 44 yards. 44 yards. And you wonder why this team stumbled to a 7-10 finish?
Right. They don't have that problem anymore.
They do not have that, and that's why this team scares me.
Yeah.
The running game, as we talked about earlier, was abysmal. You're talking about a team who by Pro Football Focus, they're ranked 27th in run blocking. We were ranked 28th, so they were actually one tick better than us. Which goes to your point to Deion Dawkins.
Yeah. You got a lot of nerve, man.
They were 25th in the league in rushing at 99 yards a game. Okay. Let's see. Breece Hall, 7 games. So Breece Hall got hurt after 7 games, and he was their leading rusher. After 7 games, he led the team in rushing for the whole season.
Can you tell people how many yards per carry he had?
Breece Hall, 5.8.
Unbelievable. Like, people were talking about James Cook James Cook was like
Singletary. Oh yeah.
No, James Cook's like 5.2 or something like that.
5.6.
5.6. And Breece Hall, had he not gotten injured, probably would have kept the same level of play.
And he was their bell cow.
Right.
So that tells you, no knock on James Cook, but this guy's the real deal. Breece Hall was somebody that everybody wanted the Bills to take. I never jumped on that train because I just didn't see it happening. Yeah. I definitely didn't see the Bills taking a running back in the
Not because we didn't want him, but because we knew the Bills weren't going to be that team to take.
So, when it comes to me talking to my people, when and even you, when we talk and about Hopkins or about guys like Breece Halls, and I say, no. It's not because I think they're trash. It's because I'm trying to jump into the mind of the Bills front office, and I'm saying it's not going to happen because of this, that, and third. The trends that they've displayed already do not dictate that this is a feasible move for them. So you're giving up a 5.8 yard back, which fine. Let's see. What else do we have that's fun? They had 4 games over 300 yards passing, 6 games between 200 and 300 yards passing, 5 games from 100 to 200 yards. And they actually had 2 games that were under 100 yards passing. And they still won 7 games. So who was their offensive coordinator last year? Was it Mike LaFleur?
Their offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think I had it. I believe it was Mike LaFleur. And the reason why I bring that up, Mike LaFleur in 22. The reason why I bring that up is because he's a West Coast offense guy. He came from where? He came from the 49ers as the pass game coordinator. And this is the output they had? This is the output you had now.
He didn't have a quarterback, though.
Okay, see, I was going to say, full disclaimer. We talked about this. Quarterback number 2 for the Bills, Zach Wilson. Write it down. Zach Wilson. I want him as our backup. The reason why, he's fast, He's not that small. He's got a strong arm. He has the same characteristics as a Josh Allen in terms of the measurables.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that he could be had on a lower contract because he's proven nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He's young enough to be here for more than 1 or 2 years. And if Ken Dorsey is who people believe he is,
Mm-hmm.
he can get better. But like I said before, they had the second worst offensive line.
He's missing 2 key criteria.
All right, brother. What is that?
First one is
Uh-huh.
he's not friends with Josh Allen. So he ain't getting in the room. I'm sorry. In order to get in that QB room, you got to be buddies with Josh Allen. That's the only way.
That's fair.
We've seen that. It's the only way. Secondly, he don't fit the culture.
Yeah.
He don't fit the culture. I'm sorry. You lose your job on the strength of you not taking responsibility for your poor play.
Yeah.
There's no way that's gonna last in this locker room. No way.
But like you said when we talked about this a while ago, is it the culture of Zach Wilson or is it the culture of the Jets? You know, and I mean,
I don't think Robert Saleh is dealing with that mess. I think he's doing the best job he can to cover up for that.
Yeah. I mean,
because he drafted. Didn't he draft him, or was he there before?
Yeah, he drafted him.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's an honest question. I mean, I don't know how to differentiate, and I'm not calling the Jets a low class organization. It's just the culture of the city. You know, I'm bombastic. This is me. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I'm tougher than everybody else. I'm gonna pass the buck, and that's kind of what he did. Now you contrast that with where he came from,
mm-hmm.
Utah. What is the identity of Utah? Mormon, conservative, blah blah blah, and that's who he was supposedly coming out of college. So there was a change somewhere in there between college and the pros, and I don't know where it is. Can he be fixed? He hasn't done anything crazy. I think he can be fixed, and I think the very least you're going to get is a Garoppolo kind of backup, and that kind of took me to where you said Kyle Allen. You can win a game or two with Kyle Allen. You can win a game or two with Zach Wilson. He beat the Bills last year. So, and that was a tough defense we had when we played him, and he beat them. Was he great? No.
Yeah.
But he was part of something.
Right.
So I think to my point, why I want him here is because of his age, because of his measurables, and because of I think he can learn to be a backup at a lower price. And I would love to have some consistency behind Josh Allen just in case.
Yeah.
He's getting older. You know, and at some point those legs are not going to they're not going to work for 16, 17 games. He's not going to be able with the elbow. If you had a quality backup, you had somebody you really believed in, why wouldn't you sit him down for a game or two? You know, and
because you letting your quarterback decide that his buddies are more important than a viable backup.
Yeah, and and to not require surgery, that tells me he needed rest. That tells me if he's healthy now, he needed rest. A week or two would have been huge for him. But to me, that tells you that they did not have the confidence to go to who was it? Case Keenum,
mm-hmm.
which when we saw him play, we realized why.
Right? He just was not good. Sorry.
But going back to the Jets, the reason, like you said, and like I said, I'm afraid of this team is because of who do they have? They got Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers brought along his buddy Nate Hackett and the rest of the gang. And we laugh at Nate Hackett as Bills fans, but you got to look at what Rodgers did under Hackett as offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the team in New York with Garrett Wilson is probably the best receiver that Rodgers is going to have outside of Devontae Adams. And Garrett Wilson was a product of blood, sweat, and tears. He was a product of scraping to survive last year.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have an offensive identity that was sustainable to beat anybody. But now with Rodgers, with Hackett, with the lineman they brought in, with the other receivers, Lazard and Cobb and Mecole Hardman, you got some people around you now. Yeah. And you got a Rodgers and his buddy Hackett who know how to make this work together.
Wasn't Hackett the offensive coordinator with Chan Gailey here?
No, he was with Doug Marrone.
Doug Marrone, that's right.
Marrone.
That's right.
He was the guy. We're going to run C.J. Spiller till he pukes. He was the he was the
And then I don't think they ever did that because Fred Jackson was still here, wasn't he?
And he was a get him in space guy too. Remember, get him in space.
Yeah, and then they never did that either.
No, they run West Coast offenses, and they have. I mean, to get people in space, you have to have talent around the guy you want to get in space. Like
Correct.
you said, with Stephon Diggs, with Hopkins, they command attention. They draw attention away, so you can get that space that you're looking for.
Oh yeah.
And the West Coast offense is going to be a continuation from Mike LaFleur to Nate Hackett in some iteration. It may be a little different, but it's going to be the same offensive scheme. So the guys that are there, Garrett Wilson actually. And I don't need to talk over. You can stop me anytime you want. Garrett Wilson, Lazard, Zana Midnight, Breece Hall, and Michael Carter. They're all guys who live in the middle of the field. Yeah. And as the Bills consortium, if you will, what are we most afraid of being attacked?
In the middle of our field.
That's short to intermediate middle.
That's right.
And that's where the Jets live, even under Mike LaFleur. So you bring in Hackett and Rodgers, who's made a career out of feasting on the short to intermediate middle of the field. The Bills are going to have their work cut out for them.
100%. 100%. You're talking about an offensive line that added, one player and completely changed the dynamic of the offensive line. I mean, they add a guy like Dwayne Brown, who's a great pass blocker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that allows you to switch over Mekhi Becton to right tackle, which is more naturally a bigger tackle position.
He's huge, so yeah.
Right. So you do that. You still got Tippmann. You still got Vera Tucker. You still got Tomlinson. That guard center guard combination is probably, I would say, top third in the league, if not top quarter. And then you add a left tackle that you can trust. I mean, I think at times Rodgers is going to have a really good amount of time for him to find the open guy and get the ball out. And when you have a guy like Garrett Wilson, who is probably one of the best route runners in the league right now, even going into his second year. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a major problem. Alan Lazard is always going to be your feast or famine guy. Right. He's going to be your big playmaker, or he's only going to have 2 catches and maybe a 2-point conversion or something, like some weird stuff, right? and then you include into that Mecole Hardman, who, God forbid, they put some screens into that offense, and he's able to get into some space. Yeah. There's not anybody on the Bills defense that's going to be able to catch him.
No.
Right? So just adding that one tackle, it just changes, because there's a big difference between having Aaron Rodgers with the Jets offensive line from last year and having Aaron Rodgers with an offensive line that can actually help him and protect him and give him time. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's just I don't understand how you're not scared to death of that. Yes, it's the NFL. Yes, any given Sunday, but common sense has to play some role in how you consider how dangerous a team is. Right. And this was already a team last year that people were saying they're a quarterback away. Mm-hmm. Right? They didn't just stop at the quarterback. They said, nope, we want the quarterback. Not only do we want the quarterback, we want the offensive coordinator. Not only do we want the offensive coordinator, we want a tackle. Not only do we want a tackle, they went and signed a safety. Like,
they used their first-round draft pick on a defensive end.
Right.
So, a pass-rushing specialist. So, they're coming for us.
They're coming
big time.
They signed Carl Lawson, who's a great pass rusher. Yeah. Like, Carl Lawson came from the Bengals. He was a great pass rusher for them. Yeah. He was he was their best pass rusher for a few years. Yeah. Right? So they didn't just stop at, we got Aaron Rodgers, we're good. They said, no, if we're getting Aaron Rodgers and we really want to chase a championship, we are going to put as many dominant pieces on this team as we can possibly get. Now, I'm not looking at Alan Lazard, no disrespect, in saying that he's a dominant piece.
Right.
But
he's just some of a parts kind of guy, though.
Right. When you combine him with Aaron Rodgers, you got something.
And Randall Cobb. Too. I mean,
Exactly. They have a team that is now deep because Corey Davis is your third.
He's on the outside looking in.
Exactly.
That's
they got him behind Garrett Wilson right now.
Yeah.
You still got Denzel Mims on the team.
Yeah. Outside looking in guys. These are guys that could produce.
Exactly.
And they may not be on the field. They may not be on a team.
Exactly. They're stacked. They're stacked.
Yeah, quietly stacked team. And with, like I said, with the beautiful part for what the Jets did in terms of bringing in Rodgers and bringing in Hackett is the fact that you drafted guys with the offensive philosophy of being a West Coast offense. So all you're doing now is you're providing him with a quarterback. You're providing him with these other things that you need. And let's not get it twisted.
Oh my God.
Aaron Rodgers, his time to throw is always about middle of the pack. You know, he's always about 2.7 seconds per release. But when you look at analytics, your throws that should have been turnovers, your throws that were terrible, they are 3-4%. And he's your all-time starter. So What does that tell you? This man does not make mistakes. He doesn't miss. He's a sniper out there. Right. So you couple that with this number one defense they had last year, what are we up against?
They only need to be middle of the pack. Where were they offensively last year in terms of their rankings?
Who's that?
The Jets. Yeah, like they're just overall offense. Where were they?
Hold on a second. Offensively.
And this is the other thing too. They signed Chuck Clark.
Who's that?
Chuck Clark, the safety that came from I think Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Chuck Clark, and they signed Adrian Amos.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
That's a big one.
And right now, they got Clark ahead of Amos.
According to just to speak real quick, according to Pro Football Focus, New York Jets were second from the bottom in offense.
Right. They went. What was their record last year?
7-10.
7-10. They went 7-10 with a bottom of the league offense.
Historically bad offense, yes.
Historically bad offense.
Yes.
And their defense was what? Their defense was
by Pro Football Focus number 2. But I believe they were actually Game Day. Well, they were ranked third best by the Game Day website, and actually number 1 by Pro Football Focus.
Right. So we'll just say they were top 3.
Yeah,
they were a top 3
fair.
defense last year. So they won 7 games just off the strength of their defense. And they really, I think they really only needed what, 1 game to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah,
they could have backed their way in.
They were close.
Right. So I think Aaron Rodgers just on his own wins you 1 game.
Absolutely.
And you combine that with everything else that they've done to make the defense better, the offense is going to be significantly better. This is a team that can probably go out and win 13 games this year.
Yeah, this is a team that's going to surprise a lot of people that don't have their eyes open.
Right.
You know, if you're biased, you're not going to see it. But this team, and I can tell you, the Jets growing up were a team that I always hated. I always hated the was it Mean Green, the Gang Green, whatever
Gang
it is.
Green, yeah.
Couldn't stand them. Watching Curtis Martin play, I couldn't stand him.
Oh,
watching,
yeah.
Chad Pennington, I couldn't stand him watching, way back. But you got to respect this team.
100%. 100%.
The only saving grace, the only thing that saves the Bills is that Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. Or 40 years old.
I don't even think that makes a difference anymore.
Well, no, the reason why I say that is because if he was 25, what do you have? Another dynasty on your hands.
Oh, yeah. He was here for years and years.
You got to do, 2-3 more years of this, and you got to figure it out. But
right. But eventually, you have to get tired of being the team that misses out on all of these types of opportunities.
Yeah, you're always, what did it say? That you're always the
spectator,
bridesmaid, but never a bride.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it is. You start off. Now, this is my theory. I think they signed Sean McDermott thinking he was the next Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time, they still had Tom Brady and they still had Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
They brought him in. They gave him the same levels of responsibility and authority as Bill has in New England. Right?
Yep.
Now, technically, you could say Josh Allen is that Tom Brady level quarterback.
You could, yeah.
Okay. But Sean has not shown himself to be the Bill Belichick level head coach.
Right.
Right? Otherwise, you would have had 2 Super Bowls by now. Okay? Now,
at least been to two at least have been.
Yeah, right. Now, what does that say for where we are now? We're at a point now where Bill is back on the uptick, and I just got asked this question the other day, and I'll ask you: who have the Bills signed, or who have the Bills added to compensate for what the Miami Dolphins have done, what the Patriots have done, what the New York Jets have done?
Right.
Who have we signed? Who have we added?
Nobody. I mean, if you really think about,
that's exactly what I said.
I think you got. There's merit in not trying to sign people to compete with other teams. There's merit in that, but when you talk about the identity factor,
Wait, what's the merit in that?
what is the merit?
And not seeing what the division does and trying to compensate?
Well, no. My thing is if you have your system intact, and you think you're the team to beat, you know, whether it's true or not, if you think you're the team to beat, and you think that the only way you're going to stay sustainable is upgrading what you're already doing, as opposed to, you know, you look at, we'll just say for the exercise, we'll say Miami, they have everybody in the running back room that they have now, and they add Dalvin Cook, or they add, Saquon Barkley or somebody like that. By the logic, what you're presenting is you want to do something to combat that signing, right?
Correct.
If you think what you have can do it, whether it's right or not, if I think my philosophy will beat whatever they're presenting to me, I need to improve what I have. Whereas I might not want to get that one tech that I've been screaming for forever. But I get it. I don't subscribe to that so much, but I get where a Kansas City Chiefs team would be unwavering, and this is how we're going to play football. And I don't care what the teams are up, because I'm going to beat them however they do it, because my system's better. I get that. Because at the same time, they might be thinking, you know, they're doing this to combat me, but that's because I'm the ultimate system. I'm the ultimate. We're ultimate. There's nobody better. But to your point, I understand, because we had problems in the run game. We had problems in the middle of the field. We just lost Tremaine Edmonds, who,
right,
you know, arguably could have been replaced anyway, not with somebody we have, but could have been done. Where you don't have a clear-cut number two cornerback. Your two safeties are my age almost, you know. So, yeah, in that regard, Micah Hyde and Jordan Hare are not going to last forever. Right. You have a lot of questions in the middle.
They might not even last a year.
I'm worried about it, you know. And I mean, Damar Hamlin was good, but where is he? You know, where is he in his health journey? That's my thing. Yeah. You know, so I'm looking at, to your point, we got a lot of questions that we're sweeping under the rug right now. They're throwing a lot of stuff out of the window. Don't worry about it. We're fine. I don't want to think like that. Exactly. So I get what you're saying too. I get it.
Yeah. I just, to me, I don't see how you can look at what these other teams have done, and as the Bills say, we're all right.
We're good.
We'll take care of business. We'll do it. One of the biggest mistakes this team has made from day one is putting everything on Josh Allen's shoulders. Yeah. That's not the way this team should have operated. I mean, if you look at what the Chiefs have done, they've done everything in their power to make Mahomes' job as easy as possible.
Oh, yeah. Until it didn't have to be anymore.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Until that's absolutely right. Yeah. Until it didn't have to be anymore. You look at the plays that they called. You look at the style of the offense. You look at the players that they were putting on the field for him. I mean, I don't understand how you can look at what the Bills have put on the field for Josh Allen and say they didn't expect him to be Superman every week. Right. How do you put about where, you know what, where has this offensive line been ranked? We need to see this right now.
What do you want to
know? The Bills O-line ranking.
Oh, the ranking?
Yeah,
I got it.
Where are they?
Let me pull it up, but I do have it. 1 second here.
I just want to be clear about this, because you don't draft a guy that high, 7th overall, right? And they traded up to get this guy, right?
Yeah, they were 21st in pass blocking by Pro Football. I do use Pro Football a lot. I just like the layout and the concise way they evaluate. But they were 21st in pass blocking, and they were 28th in run blocking.
28th in run blocking.
28th in run blocking.
And you got a running back that even with 28th in run blocking still averaged 5.6 yards.
Yeah. And to be fair, as much as you guys, if you watch the show enough, you know how bad Singletary, he did it too. With this. You know, so.
And really, all of that is just on the strength of having Josh Allen.
On the strength of
because you're scared to death of the pass.
On the strength of Josh Allen and on the strength of the God-given ability by the running backs. I mean, you got to.
That too.
Because you're not supposed. They sometimes are getting hit right in the hole.
Exactly.
You know, so I
don't want to spend the whole rest of this time talking about the Bills because we're supposed to be talking about the Jets.
You almost have to because the Jets out of the series we've done, the Jets is the team that will flummox you the most.
Yeah,
they're the team that will that we really have to evaluate. What are we really doing?
They were supposed to be the laughing stock of the league after drafting Zach Wilson rather,
yep.
and being stuck with this this young kid who was never going to become anything, mm-hmm. right? That was the wave of narratives following the draft and his performance and all that kind of stuff. Basically, we were going to be looking at Robert Saleh going to some other team or going back to San Francisco,
right.
you know, in the next couple of years,
right.
you know, to try again, you know, for a head coaching job in another 5 years, right? But now instead we have a Jets team who is stacked to the T. I'm talking about like. Yeah. The only other team that I would say is stacked like this team is probably Philly.
Yeah. Where
they got offense, they got defense, they can win any way they need to win right now. Right, they can run the ball. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It really just boils down to what other teams are presenting as challenges to them, and they can still beat that. They can find a way around that because they have the tools to do it.
Yeah.
Right? If the Bills don't have a way for Josh Allen to either run for touchdowns or easily throw for touchdowns, this team is in trouble. The defense cannot win you games.
And the thing about the Jets were actually rated 21st in the league in tackling. They were the top 3 defense, and they couldn't tackle.
The Bills were way worse in tackling when they played the Jets.
Yeah,
twice.
Well, the Bills are ranked 29th on the season in tackling. so yeah. So, but I want to draw your attention to the fact
that's a nice disciplined defense, isn't it? The discipline of that
very
defense.
Very disciplined. It's very disappointing, is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, but you look at these are the chinks in their armor, and I love the fact that they have these chinks, and it proves period. Point is driven home that you can be flawed and still be a top dog. You look at who was it? I believe it was Michael Carter.
He's a little further up there.
Or it was the other cornerback who actually had a 70% completion against rating, or 70% complete. Yeah, he allowed 70% of his passes.
Who, Reed?
No, it wasn't Reed. It was
a slot corner.
I think it was who's their other guy?
Because their number 1 and number 2 corners are like insane.
No,
right?
they're insane. But the thing is, they allowed in coverage. They weren't that good. You know, not Sauce, but this guy. Let me pull it up. It might have been their number 3 guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was their slot corner.
It might have been their number 3 guy. I'm trying to find his name. I can't remember his name.
Here, I'll go to their depth chart. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, help bail me out.
So there
was it DJ Reed?
No, DJ Reed's their number 2.
So it was Michael
Bryce
Carter
Hall.
second.
You talking about Bryce Hall? Either Bryce Hall or Tony Adams. 1 of the 2.
So it must be Bryce Hall then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Bryce Hall.
You know, why don't I just go here? I was trying to be cute and not use Pro Football Reference, but
or Justin Hardy. But I don't remember hearing his name last year.
No, I was trying to be cute.
Oh wait, no. You're right. It was Michael Carter II.
Yeah, Michael Carter II. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And Sauce Gardner is his depth of target was ridiculous. They're throwing the ball 15 yards down the field on this guy, and he's not giving up anything.
Right.
But you look at DJ Reed Jr. had a 57% receptions against. Michael Carter, 70%, 71%. Jordan Whitehead, 65%. But this was still the number one defense. They still couldn't be figured out. And they won 7 games. What if they tighten that tackling up?
Right.
What if they scheme something better for these cornerbacks? Or maybe they didn't see, because they're all young.
Right.
Maybe they didn't see something as much as they should have before they played this season. They're going to be better this year.
That's right.
This team has the ability to really, really win some people some money if you bet on them.
Exactly. The Bills already had a hard enough time last year stopping their run game. They couldn't do it. Not only that, they couldn't run against that defensive line.
Right.
They couldn't do it.
They couldn't.
The only way that they could move the ball against that team was the quick pass.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do last year? They went away from the quick pass against the Jets.
Right.
And that killed them.
Right.
And so now they're changing their offense around, and it seems like they may be able to start working in some more of the quick pass game, just from a schematic standpoint, based on where they're going. But there's what it really boils down to for the Bills going against the Jets this year. Are they going to stop thinking that they don't need to self-scout and start being realistic about the changes in the game plan that they need to make against teams that can stop them?
Yeah.
Because they seem to, last year, go into each game thinking, we don't care what the other team's going to do. We're going to play Buffalo Bills football regardless.
Right.
And it killed them.
Yeah.
It did. I'm sorry. Like, you can say the record was what it was, and yeah, they endured what they endured. But last year's schedule was such a cakewalk, it wasn't even funny.
Right.
And this year's schedule is so difficult, they are not going to be able to operate the same way.
Yeah.
They do that, I guarantee they'll probably win 5-6 games.
Yeah, it's gonna
maybe.
be a rude awakening. And
Maybe.
it might be something they need. It might be something they need.
I hope it happens.
Yeah. I mean, you're at this point, you're talking about realistically losing Stephon Diggs. At this point, you're talking about really looking at Josh Allen. How are you going to respond? Like we talked about when we opened the show, I thought that was a great way to open it when we're talking about the Pat Mahomes comments.
Yeah.
Are you going to adapt that attitude? Are you going to adapt that way of thinking? Are you going to be the guy that says, you know what? This is what I did wrong, so I want to do it again.
Yep.
But I want to do it right this time. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to try to game plan. I'm going to run head into it. And if I screw up, I screw up. I'll do it again.
Right.
But like they say, the best quarterbacks have, what do they say? They have short memories.
Yep.
So when Josh Allen comes out there after he's victorious against the Jets or after he gets curb stomped, whichever it is, you can't be afraid of playing him again. You can't be afraid of trying to right the wrongs. And I think that's what's going to determine whether or not this team is successful in terms of being the Bills, is successful from week 1 through the Super Bowl.
Right.
And that's what we have to figure out. And that's the thing that I hate, that we gave Josh Allen that much money and we're still trying to figure this out.
Right.
I loathe the fact that we're still trying to figure out Stephon Diggs. He's an excellent player. Mm-hmm. There's no question about Stephon Diggs, but when is he really going to be tired? Enough is enough. I've won enough. I got enough money. I can sit the season out. Find me. I'm not coming. Because what happens when that happens, you're looking at players that are going to see the way the Bills are run again. You're going to look at the way that players are being treated and the way these scenarios pop up, and they're not going to want to come again.
Right.
I don't care about Josh Allen. I don't care. Well, according to Snowman, Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, those are the only guys they need.
The only guys you got. Never mind Hall of Fame Von Miller. But,
right.
The thing is, you have to do damage control at this point. And this is bigger than Stephon Diggs. This is bigger than Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. This is going to make or break your future in Buffalo.
Right. Now, here's something I just thought about this, actually. This is going to be my bold prediction for the Jets, but it's also going to be a key example to the point that I've been trying to make now for pretty much since we've been doing this show. Having a defensive-minded head coach is such a detriment to a franchise. And I think it should only be done if, A, you already have a veteran quarterback who is established with his coordinator and you plan on keeping those two together.
Yep.
and you really just want to fortify and build up your defense and get that going right.
Yep.
Or if there's just no offensive guys available that you trust.
You're right. Right.
That is the only time that you should be trying to sign a defensive-minded head coach.
Right.
Here's why. Key example. What the heck are the Jets going to do in 2 or 3 years when Aaron Rodgers retires? They're going to draft another quarterback? Probably not. You still got Zach Wilson there. Mm-hmm. But is Zach Wilson going to be anything?
Right.
Because they're doing their best to talk him up to get everybody ready for after Rodgers retires, and so that they can get excited. Oh, well, he's been able to sit behind Rodgers and learn the same way that Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre and learned, and we saw how that worked out. It's not going to work out the same way. It's not going to work out the same way. It's not. The only way Zach Wilson is going to become anything is if he gets a hold of a guy like a Zach Taylor or an Andy Reid or an Arthur Smith
or Brian Dable.
Or Brian Dable, right? Exactly. Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe the Giants can get out from him up under their contract and take Zach Wilson over there. Maybe, but
you got to look at it too. They're not paying. What's his name? Their quarterback in New York.
Mike White.
Who?
Mike White.
No, the Giants quarterback.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no. They're not paying their quarterback that much. They're not paying his contract. He just signed a contract, but he's making like $27
Daniel
million.
Jones.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. I don't know why I wanted to call him McCorkle Jones. I don't know what I was thinking. I really did. I'm not saying it because I'm not going to.
Because you're scarred from me saying it so much. That's what it is.
But the thing is, they structured the man's contract to they have a buffer. And it's so masterfully done, and that's what the Bills have not done, and that's why I jump on their contract negotiation. Everybody lauds, and we got this, we got that. We didn't, because you signed your number 1 draft pick, your starting quarterback since day 1 or 2, to a low-end starting contract for years, which allows you to still bring in, we'll say C.J. Stroud had Dave not turn him around, Anthony Richardson had he not turned him around. And still have your buffer. Mm-hmm. So if your number 1 pick flames out, guess what? I'm going to do damage control. Your bench. Who wants him? Give me a third for this young guy. But see, that's how the Bills don't operate. It frustrates the life out of me. And to your point, about what happens if Aaron Rodgers retires and Hackett goes on. Zach Wilson better learn something that Jordan Love didn't learn in Green Bay, because Jordan Love said that Aaron Rodgers didn't help for Jack. Right. He said he wasn't offering no advice. So you better stand way over here and watch from a distance. Get your pen and pad up. Matter of fact, sit next to me. I'll sit with you. We'll look at it together.
Yeah. But that to me is what is going to, because essentially what New York is doing now, what the Jets are doing now is, okay, the Zach Wilson thing didn't work out. We can't get rid of him because he has no value to anybody because of what he's shown. So we have to keep him, right? The best thing that we can do for our defensive-minded head coach is go get him a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Who has a quarterback that we can go get? Okay, Aaron Rodgers is available. Let's go for it, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, best case scenario is the Jets win the Super Bowl either this year or next year. Mm-hmm. Let's say they get close this year in 2023. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers decides, I like having success in New York. Right. I'll come back for my final year. This will be it. Right. They win it in 2024. He retires after that. He goes out on a high note. I did it. I did it in New York. I did it on the biggest stage. Mm-hmm. Middle finger to Green Bay for getting rid of it. However he want, all that kind of stuff, mm-hmm. right? Now, after his retirement, then what? And I know I've kind of stated this question already, but at this point, you still have Zach Wilson on the team, mm-hmm. right? Nathaniel Hackett effectively probably at that point has no value as an offensive coordinator, because I don't think he's going to be the right guy, unless Zach Wilson takes to this offense and it just happens to be a better fit for him. Right. But I don't think that's going to be the case. So now you're kind of back to square one as a defensive-minded head coach. You've got to go find an offensive coordinator to work with Zach Wilson, mm-hmm. unless there's another guy that you have drafted in the later rounds that can, come in and do it. Or I don't even know if Mike White is still on the team.
No, but Mike White's in Miami now.
Right. So that's done. Mm-hmm. So now you're in a position where you're unsure about your quarterback. You're unsure about your offensive coordinator, and you've got this offense that, I mean, Dwayne Brown is I think he's about to be 40.
Yeah, he's up there.
So he's probably got this year and he's done. Maybe next year, if they, again, if they get close, maybe Dwayne Brown comes back.
Man, let me clarify. I gotta get used to this. You said he's about to be 40. I say he's up there. I should have said he's up here because I'll be 40 next year.
Yeah,
I can't say up there anymore because
I feel bad for you, bro. I do. I really do. I mean, turning 40, I'm not gonna see that for a minute. But so anyway,
all right. But no, while you were talking, I was listening to what you're saying. But I think this drives the fact that you can see my screen. Week 4. Yeah. Zach Jones. They beat the Steelers 24-20.
Oh, Zach Wilson?
Yeah, Zach Wilson. I'm sorry. Yeah. Zach attack. Beat the Dolphins 40-0 or 40-17.
This was last year?
This is last year.
Wow.
Zach Wilson. And Flacco started the season, but then he got hurt. Zach Wilson beat the Packers 27-10. Zach Wilson beat the Broncos. Zach Wilson has won games.
Broncos.
What I'm trying to get at is, if Rodgers goes down, you got that guy that can win a game or two.
Yeah.
And
you still pitching for this backup mode for him? That's what you're doing. You pitching for him to be the Bills' backup.
I'm just that. And I'm trying to drive home the fact that this team is deep, man.
Right.
It's not predicated all on Rodgers.
If somebody gets injured, it's not going to stop him. It's not.
It might not be as good, but that's not going to stop him.
That's part of the reason why I was saying it's probably the perfect fit if they sign Dalvin Cook, because Breece Hall, I don't want to put it all back on him this year. Right. Okay. He needs time.
I get it.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So now you've got a running back room that is just as stacked as the rest of the team. Because in my opinion, just room wise, that's probably the weakest room aside from maybe the wide receiver room of the whole team.
Right.
So I think they should do it. Jets, I'm going to root against you, but I'm rooting for you to sign Dalvin Cook for your sake.
I get it. I mean, and the funny thing is, we're this show was built solely. It was built solely to talk about the Jets, but obviously we got on a Bills tangent because of the threat that the Jets present. And I will tell you, if you're watching this from the Jets' perspective, we're kind of talking about the Bills today because you guys are the ones that are going to give us the most fits in this division. Without even questioning it, you guys, we recognize that. So to try to go through your positions and say where you might suck or where you might be good is a moot point.
Not a lot of it there.
Any positions there. So bear with us here. We didn't even talk about Sauce Gardner. We didn't even get to Sauce.
Do we need to? He's the best corner in the league right now.
We didn't get to Sauce. We didn't get to Quinn. Gosh. But why do we need to?
Right.
And that's where I want the Bills to be. I want the Jets podcasters to say, okay, the Bills, wow. Let's talk about the Jets because we're screwed.
Right.
We're not right now.
Right.
Like, yo, we're going to kill that guy. We're going to do this to that.
No.
And that's where it's going to be.
No.
And I can't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year was a tie between the two teams. They beat us 20-17, and we beat them 20-12. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that the Bills could only score 17 points, and then 20 in the first game and 17 in the second game. I mean, to me, that seems like a lot against that defense.
Yeah, but the thing about that was the second game was in that span of just offensive abyss. Yeah. In terms of we weren't exciting, we weren't dominant, we didn't show that we belonged on any field in the NFL after the Green Bay second half.
Right.
I don't know what changed at that point because they want to blame the Josh Allen elbow, but what about the rest of your team? Where's the running game? What did you do? Like you said, and I'll drive it back because you said that when other teams are getting better or you're regressing for things that you can't control, injuries, sickness, whatever the case may be, what are you doing to mitigate what you've lost?
Exactly.
You lost Josh Allen, so let's just throw the ball further down the field, and we don't have a deep threat.
Right.
Let's let him run around the field. What are you doing? You can't rein your quarterback in when his elbow's hurt to stop scrambling, stop taking hits?
Yep.
I mean, what are we doing?
You know what? That is the question of this entire franchise's existence under Sean McDermott. Yeah. What are we doing? I think when and I know I've kind of boiled this down to the point of it's all about culture, but if you think about logically what this team has done with their roster movements,
Right.
none of it leads to any other logical conclusion of what the game plan is. Are you trying to build a dominant defense predicated on rushing the passer? There aren't enough moves that suggest that that's what they're trying to do because of the players that they've picked. Mm-hmm. Are you trying to build a pass-heavy team that can't be stopped when they want to pass the ball?
Right.
They haven't made enough moves that suggest that that's what they're trying to do, and they haven't picked the right players that suggest that that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. So, really, at the end of the day, the question of what are we trying to do has frustrated the life out of me, you, and everybody else who thinks like we do about this team. And I think that has been the biggest issue with this team just in general. Mm-hmm. From what is supposed to be the foundation building of this franchise in their draft picks. Because that's where you're going to save the money. That's where you're going to give yourself the best chance of sustained success. Yep. You haven't done a good enough job there to put enough players in the right positions or to get players at the right positions or to just get better players in general here. You've drafted these players who fit a culture,
right,
but are not dominant at their positions.
Right.
So when you put them out there on the field and they get dominated by someone else, and we look at you, the head coach, you say it's on me. It's on me.
It's on me. We know that.
When is right? Exactly. Like at some point, it's got to be okay. It is all on you. Mm-hmm. You're fired.
Right.
You keep putting it all on you, but somehow I keep making excuses for you. I am now what? I am enabling you. Mm-hmm. I'm just giving you the keys to the car and saying, you know what? If you crash it, it's fine. You can crash it again after that.
Right. Oopsie.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have it. I mean, that's the thing. Even to the most stoutest, the most staunchest of Bills Mafia fan, you got to look at it like this. When you're getting into a car with a friend, when you're getting in a car with somebody that you know has had a couple accidents, just had a couple. I might take that ride with you. I might go with you, but in the back of my mind, there is a chance for screw up.
Yeah,
I'm not going to blindly rely on you to get me from point A to point B, because you haven't proven beyond yourself that you're capable of getting yourself from point A to point B yet.
Right.
So what I'm asking the Bills Mafia fans, the Bills fans that are watching us right now, saying those guys suck and they're stupid, just step back, just a second. Step back and ask yourself, why do you believe in them? Why? Not saying you're right or wrong.
What have they done to garner that?
Right.
What have they done to deserve it?
Is it because they're just a Buffalo team because they're Buffalo? Is it because, McDermott has the same values as you? Is it because you saw him at Wegman? What is it? and that's fine if that's what it is. But don't try to present to me and argue with me the fact that I'm wrong because I don't believe what they believe blindly.
Right.
And that's the part that I struggle with. I don't argue with people. I will debate with you all day long, respectfully. But when it comes to you telling me it is just because it is or because McDermott said so, or Deion Duck because they're in the know, mm-hmm. because I'm not in the room. You're not in the room with them either. I'm not in the room with them. This is all conjecture.
Right.
We're speaking as fans, as what you say, supporters. We're speaking as the nation, as a mafia. We're speaking as the same people, but we have a different sect. We have a different belief system on the same thing, same organization.
Right.
We all want them to win. But I don't sit here and say, oh, man, they took a punter in the third round. That was freaking brilliant because Sean McDermott did it. I'm going to go and say, let me look at his number. Let me see what we needed. Well, who was there? Who did we pass on? What do we already have? I'm not going to say, because I don't buy the Lundy's books. I don't do all this research on draft picks and do all these mock drafts. My friends ask me, what do you got on the mock draft? Not because I think McDermott's right, but I want to know what would I have done.
Right.
I might be a nobody to you. That's fine. But when I'm a fan of something, I want to understand the ins and outs. I like to, when you play Madden, when you play, 2K, whatever the case may be, when you draft somebody or when you get a free agency, this is what I wanted to do and this is why.
Right. You study the thing out.
Right. And that's how I want you to think when you listen to what McDermott, Bean, and I'm a Bean fan. I like Bean. I think he could be all right. But when you listen to what they do and what they say, don't just take it at face value.
Right.
Delve deeper.
Yep. I think and this may be harsh, but there are a lot of people that have issues with people who are very religious and very zealous about their religion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, from a believing standpoint, religion is man-made and it's ridiculous, right? You know, and I don't want to get too much into a faith-based conversation, but those people who are zealously religious in their faith are the same as those people who blindly believe in the Buffalo Bills and whatever they propagate without questioning anything. Right? We're supposed to ask questions.
Right.
And even in the faith, we're supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to seek the truth, right? Mm-hmm. And what you and I have done on this show is we have gotten down to the root issues that this team has. We've gotten down to the truth behind the issues that we're facing now after all of the decisions that have been made.
Right.
And we've put together this picture of a very destitute and bleak outlook for this team. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't want it to be that way. But based on the decisions of the owner, mm-hmm. the decisions of the GM and the head coach, that's where we are. Yeah. If we're trying to look at the outlook that the Jets have versus the outlook that the Bills have, yeah, okay, to some degree I would rather be the Bills because I still have my quarterback for the next 10 years, and you don't, Jets. But if I'm looking at my teams and I'm saying to myself, which team has a better chance of winning a Super Bowl over the next 2 years, I want the Jets all day long.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because
even after you get rid of Rodgers, you just need another quarterback that's halfway decent to come in here like Mike White was, and you mm-hmm. got a shot. Mm-hmm. You instantly have a shot, right? If I'm the Bills, I don't know what's going. I don't know what's it going to take at this point.
Right.
You've put the best team that this city has ever had on the field 3 times against the Chiefs, and you couldn't get it done.
It wasn't enough.
So if I'm looking at that, and now all of a sudden the Bengals come into play, and now all of a sudden the Dolphins come into play, and you still got to worry about the Chargers getting better if they do. You still got to worry about the Broncos now having an offensive-minded head coach. If he gets anything out of Russell Wilson this year, look the heck out.
So his defense is good.
Right. So I just, anybody who is that of that mentality that the Bills can do no wrong, I'm hoping that something that we're saying on this show at some point is causing you to think a little bit deeper about where you are in your fandom. Right. Because to me, being a fan is part of the problem. Being a fan is a part of the problem. That may be the title of this show at this point. Being a fan is part of the problem for the Buffalo Bills because it's gotten them nothing but money in the pockets of the owners.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten us anything. What is think about it like this. In every other relationship that we have, there is always a mutual benefit, right? Mm-hmm. Father to son. I can impart to my son wisdom and knowledge beyond his years to help him prepare for the future, right? There's a benefit that he has for being my son.
Right.
What is the benefit of being a Bills fan right now? I mean, we're winning a few regular season games here and there, but are we doing damage in the playoffs? Do we look good when we're doing it? The best we've ever looked is in a loss in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's the best game we've ever played.
Yeah.
Aside from maybe the perfect game that we had against the Patriots, but it was the Patriots. I mean, like, stop. Let's just stop.
Patriots, and it was subpolar out there.
Right. To me, I don't even count that game because it was the Patriots. I'm sorry.
That's the game where I think I can side with the Mafia in terms of it was fun just because it was. I have no factual basis. We pulverized the team that used to destroy us. Exactly. It wasn't the same people, but it's just the image. We destroyed them but that's the game where I can see, but who couldn't? And you're right.
And really, who cares at this point?
You're right.
Like, the last 20 years, that's over with.
Right. You're right. And I mean, you think about, and just to go sidebar, just to give context, I'm a big Nuggets fan. I've said this a couple times. We just won a championship.
Yeah.
But there's still critique to be made.
Right.
There's still, it's not we're going to win 2023, 2024 because we're the Nuggets we won last year and because Calvin Booth and Mike Malone said so.
Yeah.
Because they have to show me something on the field. As a Nuggets fan who's planning on going to make a trip to Denver to watch the World Championship basketball team play, they still have to prove to me that they can do a repeat.
Right.
And the Bills haven't even started yet. So who am I to say you don't have to prove anything to me but be Buffalo?
Right. Right.
I will defend you against any other fan base. I've done it. It's documented. I went to Edinburgh University. My friends were all from Philly. Philly, when what was it? Brian Westbrook beat us in that game. The whole dorm knocked on my door yelling Eagles. The whole thing, Eagles. And I was I wouldn't even unlock my door. But the thing is, when you're looking at that kind of fandom, but you still want to know why. I want to know why. I want to know what it is about what you're seeing on that field that lets you know that every week, every year, we're going to take it.
Right.
Besides just the fact that we're juiced up Bills fans, and I will include myself, have me or not. Other than once you get past being juiced up, week 1, week 2, we played the Rams, the Super Bowl, we beat them. Yeah, euphoria. But after that, I want to see what does it sustain? How are the Rams going to do?
Yeah.
And see, the normal Bills Mafia fan would say, we just beat the Super Bowl championship. I don't care that they went 5-11 for or 5-12 the rest of the season, whatever they went.
Mm-hmm.
They were the Super Bowl champions when we beat them. Right. The same way that year when we had the world's toughest schedule because we played the Falcons, we played the Broncos, we played whoever it was. And they were all dog doo-doo.
Right.
They were dog doo-doo for the season. But because we were told that they were a good team before the season started, the Bills beat them when they were having bad seasons, we had to be good, which is just not the case.
Yeah.
Things change. Things always change.
Right.
It's never the same. And if you expect it to be the same in a vacuum, you're lost. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I know we got to wrap this thing up because we went over already, but
yeah.
I mean, like I said, this Jets thing was a tough show because I just couldn't. I got so involved in what they're doing right. You know, I was like, I know what questions you're going to ask. And if you ask me, what are we going to go in the series, I'd probably say we'll lose to them twice. You know, but like I said, I don't see us beating them twice. At the very best, we win one, they win one. But at the most realistic, right now, the way we're acquired, the way we're run, we're going 0-2.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The way it sits right now, we don't beat this team this year.
No.
We don't. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think it's going to get ugly. I really do. I think a team that physically dominant with the players they have, the mentality that they've had against us, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Our tackles are still what they are.
Yeah.
And some of the tape that I've seen with you know how that defensive line can just get right through our line or get around our line with no problem at times. Mm-hmm. It's bad. It's really bad. You can't run against that defensive line. You're not going to have enough time to pass on them. And can your offensive coordinator get it done? You know? So, but I think we're good. We're at a point now where we've gone through the series. We've addressed the competition for the Bills in the division. I think that's a solid run. I enjoyed doing this series. I did want to ask you this really quick before we go. Mm-hmm. And this just kind of popped into my mind. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff that would need to be done with the cap, mm-hmm. right? But let's say, for instance, let's just say next year we go 3-13, mm-hmm. right? And the Bills fire Sean McDermott. Mm-hmm. Would you consider, if somebody made you an offer, would you consider Now, in this hypothetical, we went 3-13.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting the first overall pick.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Would you take trading Josh Allen, knowing you have the first overall pick, knowing that you're going to be making some cuts, the cap is what it is? This is actually more of an opportunity for you to kind of reset everything. Right?
Yeah.
Would you take trading Josh Allen for everything that you're going to get for him? And you are probably going to
You're going to get some good money. You're going to get some good
You're going to
assets.
get all the top stuff. You probably get 4 first-round picks for this dude. Would you take trading him, taking all those assets, drafting Caleb Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and getting yourself an offensive-minded head coach?
See, okay, so who am I? Am I the owner or am I the coach, the head coach? Because the reason why I asked that is because unlike Sean McDermott,
You're the owner.
okay, I'm the owner. Okay, so all right, so I'll tweak it a little bit, but unlike the owners the owner we have, you definitely want to do your due diligence on who you're going to hire as your head coach. Furthermore, you're going to ask, who are you going to have as your is he tried and true? Is he new? What system does he run? What do you think about Josh Allen?
Let's think of him as like the Zach Taylor model, like a guy who, smart, and you really haven't heard too much about him, but he's a great, offensive mind. Like, just think in terms of Zach Taylor, Mike McDaniels.
So I'm hiring Mike McDaniel, basically.
Yeah.
I would ask Mike, what do you want to do? What do you think?
You would let him decide?
I would ask him, I would get his input.
Okay.
Because, I'm not a head coach. I'm not an offensive mind. I'm not a defensive mind, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am. But in allowing you to do the best that you can at the job I hired you to do,
mm-hmm.
I have to allow you to at least talk me into giving you the tools that you need to be successful. Because your job is to stay employed. And how do you stay employed when you're not in Buffalo? You win Super Bowls. So does Josh Allen give you the best chance of keeping your job? Or are you going? Do you need some? Can you do it with somebody else, like Caleb Williams, or can you do it with somebody coming out? Is there somebody you have in mind? I mean, I wouldn't sit here and say I definitely would get rid of Josh, and that me and drafting. I love the fact of having 3 or 4 first round draft picks. But I also think, for me, how long do you want to be here, son? You want to be here for 2-3 years? You want to be here for a dynasty? And
you're asking Josh or the head coach?
The coach.
Okay, gotcha.
And with that, I want him to be thinking, can I get to the dynasty with Josh, who's 30 years old? Or do I want to reset and go get a young guy that I know can run my system?
Right. Because the other thing, too, is, Josh, part of what makes him dominant is his athleticism.
Right, and it's going to diminish.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and for me, like you said, and that's for me, if I'm hiring somebody, I have full faith that they can do the job if given the correct tools.
Okay.
See, Pagula didn't do that. And he hasn't proven to do that, because you look at his hockey and his football organization.
Mm-hmm.
Rex Ryan, who won nothing, who was a blowhard. He was a PR press piece.
Mm-hmm.
Sean McDermott, the antithesis of Rex Ryan,
mm-hmm.
because you wanted Rex Ryan taste out of the Buffalo fans' mouth.
Right. It's a
then
political move.
You go to the hockey team where you have Granado now,
yeah,
who replaced Ralph Kruger, who replaced whoever it was before that, who were bad coaches.
Right.
So this guy has proven he doesn't know how to evaluate who he's hiring to run his organizations,
mm-hmm.
which is reflected on the product you see on the ice and on the field, respectively. So if I'm going to be the one that's doing the hiring, I got to look at myself first and say, what do I know?
That's an interesting thought. Just sidebar real quick. That's a very interesting thought, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when they hired Granado, his reputation was that he was very, very good at developing young players.
Yep.
And I don't think you heard anything really close to that at all with Sean McDermott. It was more so, he's a, small school guy. He's been a coordinator in the league for years. Like, you didn't really hear anything about Sean that made you think, man, he's going to be able to build these guys up. And right. I mean, let's look at what's happening now. Like, the Sabres are on the uptick for sure. They're going to be nice.
They are exciting. They're a piece or two away from being played.
Exactly. Can you say that for the Bills? No. Can you say that for the future of the Bills? Probably not.
No, because all you got to do is look at the Bills team and say, okay, Josh Allen's hurt. What are we?
Exactly. we're a Kyle Allen led offense at that point.
What are we? We're not the Bills that you guys want to watch every week.
But we've done a good job of painting the walls and painting the furniture, but now I'm gonna paint the floor and paint you into a corner. Do you make the trade or not? So all things considered, if I have a coach who, and I'm gonna answer your question. If I have a coach who will I'm gonna answer you in a second.
I'm gonna answer your question. No, if I have a coach that says, you know what, I can do it with Josh or I can do it with a rookie.
Either one, and he just kind of gives it back to you to choose?
Yeah, if he says, I can do it with Josh or I can do it with a rookie.
Okay.
And you're going to give me the tools to draft?
Yeah.
Josh, you're gone.
Really?
Yeah, he's
out of there.
Yeah, he's gone.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
I was gonna say that, but
no, I was hoping you would because like that was my exact sentiment on the situation. Like 100%. You know, Josh is great, but I think for his mentality and what we've seen now is you know, a lower tier work ethic when it comes to, you know, taking care of his body, getting better at, you know, processing all that kind of stuff. I just think at some point it's gonna bite him in the butt. Mm-hmm. I think all the athleticism, you know, aside, can he process the same way that Mahomes can process? Can he process the same way that the kid in Cincinnati can process? Joe Burrow. Yeah. You know, I don't know that he can. And when I look at the success that he had under Dayball, and then I go watch Daniel Jones under Dayball, it's like,
you're like, who was that?
Exactly. Who was it really? Was it Josh coming into his own, or was it Dayball making him look like a superstar?
Dayball,
right.
Dayball was a mastermind.
Exactly.
And Josh has a lot of God-given ability. That's the thing. Yeah. But you got God-given ability, but you don't hone it, you don't make it better, you're going to be in the same place you've always been.
Right.
And that's when we talk about, and I said it today earlier, when we talk about, I wish we would have got to some answer before Josh got this contract. Because now with the cap that they don't have, with the players that they don't have, and that's evident by the fact they can't even restructure people because everybody's too old for it to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, so I would if I had to, I would move on.
Man, I wanted to bring up the Bills fan thing too about the, you know, if how you sent me something.
Oh yeah.
It's like if
the Bills Mafia thing.
Yeah, like if you're not a fan, then some.
You
but
know what? I didn't.
You want to save it for the next one?
Yeah, we'll save it for the next. Right, we'll save it for the next one. Let's do that.
All right, cool. All right, so if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, please, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts. If you're the type of person that likes to listen while you work, you can catch us there. And please, as always, subscribe. I think we're going to start to get a Patreon page going, and I think there's one other platform where we'll allow you guys to to give to the show if you want to see us be able to do bigger and better things. You'll be able to contribute there. The free digs t-shirts have been ordered already. Should I show them a picture of it?
Sure, why not?
Let me see if I got it on my phone. I sent it to you, right? Yeah. Here
it is. The first iteration.
Right. So, and this is just the mock-up here. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to see this. I might be able to zoom in on that, but that's what the t-shirt is gonna look like. It's gonna say "Free Digs" or "Throw 'em the damn ball." Yeah. That to me is enough said after that, right? You either let the man go and let him go live his life somewhere else where they're going to give it to him, or you give it to him. Right. One of the two.
And I'd like to be the one to supply him with the
no doubt
the stats in Buffalo, because that's something that you guys don't want to see what we be without him. Just like Josh. You don't want to go back to Kelvin Benjamin and Andre Holmes. You don't want that.
That's exactly what they would go back to. I promise you they would.
You don't want that.
Oh my gosh. But I'm a strong believer that Brandon Beane was the one that made those moves happen just to be able to get away from some of those guys that Sean was picking. But anyway, that's just a theory. It's just a theory. I'm not saying it's real. But anyway, we got through another one. This is probably one of the longer ones, but it felt quick, man. This was good. This is really good. I enjoyed this. We'll start another series next week. And as always, subscribe, like, and join us on the next one. For the Post Podium Podcast, I am Aramis.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Hey, all right.
Guys,
happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday to my dad. This is his day, and he's probably working, but whatever. But I got nothing else. This is Keaton reporting, and Aramis, and we're all set. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday.
Happy B-Day, Papa Hammond. Peace.